Hello and welcome to the France 24 interview. Our guest today is Israel's Deputy Foreign Minister. He was also a former Israeli ambassador to the United States, Danny Ayalon. Welcome to the France 24 interview.
Very nice to be here.
I'll begin with the situation in Gaza. It's again heating up. We've seen Israeli airstrikes, Hamas rockets, different attacks. Can you tell us what is happening?
Well, it's unfortunate, but more than 1 million Israeli citizens, including children, including women, including old people, are under the terror of Hamas and the Palestinian bombarding through Qassam rockets and mortar bombings. And this is very unfortunate since we left Gaza altogether in 2005 in an advance payment to the Palestinians, hoping to see a new era. But this tells you that
it was a mistake?
Probably it was a mistake because it shows that the conflict we have with the Palestinians is not territorial. Had it been territorial, they would have agreed on partition and compromise many, many years ago. And after we left totally Gaza, there shouldn't have been terror and attacking Israelis. The responsibility, of course, is the Palestinians. And what we do is only a response and exercising our legitimate right of self-defense according to the UN Charter.
Let me ask you about Hamas, because for several months now there's been restraint in terms of rocket firing into Israel. Now they've claimed responsibility for some rockets, saying that it was a response to Israeli airstrikes. Is it a change in Hamas's recent attitude?
Not really, because unfortunately everything and anything that goes in Gaza is under the Hamas supervision. Hamas, with a coup d'etat, took over Gaza, usurping it from the Palestinian Authority, challenging the Palestinian Authority. This is part of the problems we have, that there is a big schism in the Palestinian camp between Hamas and Fatah, Gaza and Ramallah. So even though there were different claims of responsibility, whether the PIJ, Palestinian Islamic Jihad, or other terror groups, the overall responsibility is Hamas. Maybe there is a change of tactic now that they claim responsibility.
Why?
But they were always Well, maybe they need to show their masters that they're worthy of more contributions from extreme world Islamic Jihad or other very extreme Wahhabism and Sunni extremists.
Who is contributing for Hamas right now? For years it was said it was Iran and Syria, but has this changed?
Yes, until about a year ago, mainly it was Iran, to the extent of up to $150 to $100 million a year. Of course, now with the rift between Sunnis and Alawis and Shiites in Syria, there is a big rift between Hamas and Hezbollah and Hamas and Iran. But their resources have not dried because there are others in the Arab world who still finance them.
Who are the others?
There are Sunni governments. I don't want to mention. They know who they are. And of course...
Saudi Arabia, Qatar?
There are some elements over there, some NGOs, and there is a very elaborate scheme of financing. And so far we see that they are in control also. Hamas, since they are de facto controlling Gaza, they also have the means to extort money from the population of Gaza. So they have no problem of funds, unfortunately.
There's also been talk in recent days about potential infiltration by Al-Qaeda-related groups in an attack at the border with Egypt. Is this something you're seeing and that's different from Hamas or Hamas-related groups?
Well, it all comes from the motivation of Palestinian terror and from Hamas. But to keep some deniability, so they would be maybe somewhat protected from Israeli response. What they're also trying to do is use the Sinai Peninsula as a platform of attacking Israel across the border. Also, they take advantage of the fact that the deterioration of control in Sinai, which is becoming a no man's land and certainly is now a house and habitat for many terror groups, Islamic terror groups, including Al-Qaeda.
This brings us to the situation in neighboring Egypt. Are you very worried about what's happening? There's a lot of confusion right now.
Yes, certainly we are concerned. Egypt is the most important Arab country. We have good relations. We have a peace treaty with them that has been very successful for the last 30 so years. This was always a pivot and the main stability factor in the region. I think it's very important to keep that for the interest not just of Israel, but the interest of Egypt and the interest of the region. So obviously, we have a lot of concerns. We are just watching. We have no intention whatsoever, nor can we intervene in the domestic affairs of Egypt. And we hope that the Egyptian people will be able to exercise in a democratic way, without any violence, their ambitions, their national aspirations. And we hope that this would be in line with normal international code and conducts and with good neighborly relations with us.
If those aspirations lead to a Muslim Brotherhood presidency in Egypt, would you still be happy with that?
We will respect a democratic decision of the Egyptian people. And
whatever that may be.
Whatever that may be, we will continue to extend our hands in peace. We have peace with them. We have good relations with them. And I believe the interests of both countries will compel all of us to keep these relations intact.
But you would prefer a military-controlled government?
Absolutely. We have no preference whatsoever. On the contrary, Israel, which is so far, unfortunately, the only democracy in the Middle East, and democracy in the real sense. Democracy does not start, nor does it end with elections. Democracy is first and foremost culture and a frame of mind. Secondly, it's institutions, it's the rule of law, it's free press, it's civil society. All of this are not existent, unfortunately, yet in the Arab world. We would like to see that. We would like to be surrounded by real democracies, and then I believe peace will be inevitable and will be coming to the benefit of all the people.
Speaking of another neighbor to the north this time where there's a lot of violence, Syria. What should be done in Syria?
This is very unfortunate. The fact that there was no consensus in the international community will make the solution in Syria much more expensive and complicated than it could have been just a few months ago. If
you're blaming Russia and China for blocking a UN solution?
Mostly I blame Iran and Hezbollah, which without their material support, with weapons and with the troops and with the militants, Assad won't be able to do what he's doing, massacring his people.
You have evidence that Iran and Hezbollah are providing crucial material support for the regime?
Absolutely, and there were more than Hezbollah and Iranian agents that were caught in Syria, and I think everybody was able to watch them. Yes, the material aid continues to flow very heavily, both from Iran and from Hezbollah. But had it been even a few months ago, would have taken maybe a few hundred peacekeepers to bring about a peaceful resolution to the Syrian problem. But today, unfortunately, without heavy intervention, which would take dozens of thousands of peacekeepers, I don't see a peaceful resolution. We are on the verge, actually we are in already a situation of an all-out civil war. So the situation now without a heavy involvement from the outside.
What would that involvement be? If there's no UN path, should there be a Western military intervention?
I think first and foremost, it's important to have consensus in the international community. I think certainly Russia should be on board. Certainly Russia has interest, legitimate interest in Russia as many other countries. And I believe that with the massacre and the numbers of victims going up on a daily basis with children and women and so many innocent victims, certainly there should be a consensus of the countries in the world to intervene, and I think this can be done. Without this intervention, I'm afraid the massacre will continue for a long time. There is no doubt that at the end of the day, Assad and his brutal regime will go down. But without this international intervention, he will continue to massacre, and before he goes down, he may take the entire country with him.
Just very last question. Palestinian talks, Mahmoud Abbas said they were, quote unquote, clinically dead. You agree?
We are very sorry to see Abu Mazen consistently evading direct negotiations with us. We have been waiting on the negotiation table now for 3 years. On the one hand, he is not coming forward. On the other hand, he's trying to put some preconditions, which is not good faith negotiations, and trying to impose unilateral steps, including going to the UN, which is also something very dangerous against all the agreements with them, and it's not the way to really make peace.
Danny Ayalon, thank you very much for coming on France 24, and thank you all for watching this interview. Stay tuned here for more news.